That's smooth. Yeah.
Sup, everybody?
Sup?
Ooh, I'm wondering if people out there in the audience are noticing something different. They're probably curious, are we sure this is straight up positive? I mean, I see that hairy face guy that I guess calls himself MMC, but there's totally different people, and I'm not recognizing anybody else that's normally on there. So, man, great notice, guys. Those visual skills are spot on. Carrie is on vacation, which we mentioned the last time, and so you guys kind of knew that was happening. But our dear friend Rebecca, oh my gosh, she's got some stuff happening right now, and she just was not able to make it on tonight. And we wish she was here with us because, you know, we love Rebecca. She is the rock of this show. To be honest with you, I'm just along for the ride. But Rebecca is not able to make it with us tonight. So it's us tonight. And Alejandro, you know, he was so kind. Again, looking at how awesome PAC is with supporting people. Even as team members, we support each other so much. He was like, hey, Matt, you need me? I'm there, buddy. So he joined us tonight because our guests are actually Carol and Cheryl. Oh, wow. Carol and Cheryl. Wow, say that 5 times fast, right? Mm-hmm. So they're actually supposed to be on here with us tonight, but yes, thank you so much to Alejandro for joining me and helping me out, because he's gonna get a chance here after Carol and I talk about all of the cool stuff she's been up to. Because one thing you guys might recognize about Carol is she's been on SUP before. In fact, she was our very first person that we had on Straight Up Positive, our very first. So we're taking a page out of Jimmy Kimmel and Conan and all those guys out there. They bring back those guests they've had on before to see what's going on in their world. So welcome, Carol. Welcome back to Straight Up Positive. It's so good to have you back on with us and coming back to give us some updates on all the really cool stuff that you've been up to, and even talking about some of those other things in the past that we talked about that people really, I mean, they were all over. They were loving that, especially that mining for gems. So, and I know we're going to talk about that tonight, but welcome to SUP.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, Carol, what's been going on? What's been happening? Give us some updates. Give us some the 411 on what you've been up to lately.
So like everyone else, modify. So back to mining for gems, that really was taking off pre-pandemic. You know, Tipa trains us, and all of the workshops are so great, but when you can end it with activities and they can laugh together, but it will really stick. No Amber joke intended, but it got really popular. So one modification I made, because I am back now into facilities, but with all the limitations on how many people can be in, or also most facilities lost a good bit of staff. So maybe understaffed are right where they can be. So it used to be that maybe I'd have 12 people at one time, and I would do 2 shifts, and then a day later have 12 people. So that would be a whole big group and there'd be enough time, but now they're giving me a little less time. So one thing I changed is we go through the workshop, but then maybe the first group, I really give the games or the activities for like Sapphire, Diamond, and Emerald. And then for the other group, again, you get all the gems, but you know, Amber, Ruby, and Pearl, they'll really interact and play more of those activities, because then you're not so rushed. And that way though, then they can share with each other. And that seemed to go really well.
So Carol, I'm gonna pull it back a little bit because I did watch the first SUP episode and now I'm like, oh yeah, you were the first. I totally forgot. But as soon as you said mining for gems, it was like, yeah, I totally remember what you were talking about, because what you put together, Carol, was a very kinesthetic experience for learners. So if you see Carol Bailey's name on something, I mean, don't expect to just sit in a chair for however long you're going to be in there. I mean, you have folks really doing some so fill us in for those who may not have seen that one. I don't know how they go back, and I'm sure there's somewhere recorded, but if they haven't seen that before, Carol, give us a sample of what's it like to do one gem stay in that experience with you.
So, and again, the mining for gems, when they all first come in, I have them put on cheap yellow costume mining hats, which I put a sticker on that's, mining for gems, and maybe get a group picture. And I'll just share this real quick. This was a first, and I needed the laugh so much when the girl did this, because I was rushed setting up, and she goes, "That hat's not going on my head." And I'm thinking it won't fit because it's kind of small. And she goes, "When I put a hat on, it's a commitment. I will be more committed to that hat than I am to my husband." She says, "Because once you put a hat on, you have hat hair." So I don't know. I thought that was hysterical. So let's say like when you would get to the amber station and you would still have the binoculars on, but now we're thinking a little bit misused perhaps, but you're also stuck in the moment. And that's kind of what I was wanting to drive home. So I'd have a big container with rice, with water, so that the rice is just gooey enough that your finger will get stuck. There you go. Exactly, Alejandro. And they have to go through the rice and find a marble, and the marble has to be the amber color. So of course there are other marbles, but you would pull up one and get excited, but then they had to really look at it to see if it was the right color. So it was kind of about that, how you can get stuck and how you can misuse things, because guys might not get this, but if you're using a curling iron, they sell these little gloves that really only 2 fingers go into. So I'd have the glove on, so people really had to try to only use those fingers. And if I'd catch them trying to use them all, I'd say misuse, even though that's not exactly what it means. So every single station had a kind of a summary of what you had learned in the workshop, and then a way to really drive home some of the key features of it.
So Carol, you took this GEMS idea, which is a TIPA Snow pack idea, stayed true to it, but then gave people not just the verbal and not just the pictures, but here's what it feels like. I mean, go ahead and so I do have, this is how big of a nerd I am, Carol. I still have this around my desk from when we used to train in person. They're wearing something like this and doing something kinesthetically where the level of frustration is no longer hypothetical. The level of, ooh, that's really difficult. The level of, ooh, excitement after all that time is not hypothetical. It's real, because you have them go through this experience with you. I mean, this isn't some thing you just put up on a PowerPoint anymore.
Right. And then I have someone who's the one timing it, because you can't just let it go to the person gets it right. Purposely saying 12 seconds, 8 seconds. So that annoying too. Yeah, but I just think I loved doing that. You have to have a little fun in the workshop, but each activity in there that drove it home. And what's great is you'll run into people and they remember you, and they'll remember that. They might not remember my name, and I'm fine with that, but they'll remember the dementia training and that part. So if you can, you're forced to go to something, but we all know anything that we PAC certified community does is not like the trainings or CEs people are usually forced to go to. So, 30 seconds into it and they're loving it or find it incredibly interesting. So you also end with people kind of laughing and going back out to work and end on a positive note, something fun.
Yeah, and I think for me, looking back at least to some of my memories and first exposures to the positive approach to care, those are some of the biggest memories that I still have to this day, recalling those experiences and going through the different things that we did in the training, and or just being exposed to Tipa for the first time, and her reaching for my groin because I was trying to approach in a way that I shouldn't have been approaching in that moment, and putting things in visual fields that could have, been shifted a little bit differently. And I'll never forget that as my first exposure to Tipa. That was back when she was with senior helpers doing the gyms and all of that, and roaming around doing those webinars. So those emotional memories, or those exciting moments, are so powerful.
Right. And Matthew, I call it the accidental lap dance. When the person will go, the person sitting in the chair, they're just exhausted. And the typical way, I'm just going to be starting to get you undressed. And I tell people, it doesn't matter if you couldn't even get a day job at a strip club. You're giving this accidental lap dance. So again, sticking with it, but things that hopefully they'll remember. They might go in to do it and real quick remember they're doing it wrong. So that way of describing it could definitely stick in people's minds of, oh yeah, no, I don't want to give an accidental lap dance. Oh, wow. So talking about those amygdala moments and emotional memories, or remembering, we were looking back at your business. You were doing a lot of things. You were going out there and training. And I know you were sharing some of that with us before we got to reminding us about that mining for gems. But talking about some of those shifts as we really, because back when we last talked to you, that was when things were starting to kick off. I mean, they were really starting to happen. Absolutely.
We were seeing it. And obviously things really escalated from there. So tell us how that affected you, and what shifts or things that you did different during that time since we last talked to you.
So like positive approach to care, I'm going to try to focus on all the things that came out of it that were positive, and there were a lot. But what was really hard and sad was, so I had just gotten set up a series of 4 workshops. So maybe from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. on Tuesdays, and 1 to 3 on Wednesdays, and then an evening session. And they would be every other week. And we'd go through the 3 workshops. And that 4th one was to bring it all together or practice things. And they filled up. I could only take 24 people based on where I was having it. And of course, it's like, it's all coming together. You've worked so hard. You're not really getting an income. But more importantly, this was for families, not medical professionals. So they all filled up. I had them 3 different times. So that was enough for, plenty of people. So when everything shut down, all these people are so desperate for help, and we're so excited about it. Perhaps they had attended one workshop in person or heard about me from someone else. And it was hard to navigate those calls, because at that point, Zoom hadn't really kicked in yet and all that. So that was heartache. And so that's the only negative I'll talk about. And we all know there was a lot of negatives, but as far as being a certified member of the community, that was heartache. So what shifted when Zoom became a thing, and it became acceptable. It became something that was acceptable, was a way to deliver information. I made sure that the CEUs I had approved by each board were approved by Zoom, and they all were, but they did have some different guidelines you needed to submit and do different things as proof people were on for the whole amount of time. So that was huge, because then vendors would hire me. The only way vendors could get into a hospital is by providing something educational and dropping off lunch. So we used to go in the hospital and do it. So now instead it would be virtual, but that was great that you could still get this information out there. Then so wanting to do the same for families, I did a few, but as you know, the amygdala is up here, and trying to let the people, even who do have computers, know it's just one button. I promise it's just going to be one button. It was just one more thing. And you know that I could talk to them a few times, having just these phone consultations. So that was never something that, and I'm back going places now, but that was never something for me, family workshops, that took off. But the CEs to the medical professionals did. So that was a modification. And the great thing about that was then I could do family consultations via Zoom. And now people aren't having to fly in. So that actually worked out beautifully. It really is more about the family and modifying their interactions, and not ever about really even having to see the person living with dementia. Of course, you want to, but so that was a real positive thing. More people could come in at the same time. They maybe had questions 3 months later, they could all log in Zoom again. So again, that was another positive thing that really came from the pandemic, was being able to continue with family consultations. And they got real popular. I prefer if people have the opportunity to come to a workshop, it's less expensive, and consultations are usually more for when you've come to some workshops, you're trying to implement it, but you're a little stuck, and you help them think it through. But during the pandemic, consultations really became about the only way for me to work with families. So
Carol, doing consults had over Zoom, right? The benefit is I can see you and I can hear you. Had you done consultations over the phone previously, or just in person? What was the model like for you previously?
no, so even a family who I helped here had another family in California and wanted me to just do it on the phone, and I wasn't comfortable with that. I'm not even sure then if that would be approved. Is that something PAC would allow? And I just wasn't comfortable with it, because if you're on the phone, to me, you are kind of in lecture mode. Like if you have the phone on speaker and there's 3 people in the room, I wasn't comfortable with it. I think that if we had run out of any other options, potentially I would be. So it is not something I'd ever done before. And in my mind, I'm thinking both for teaching CEs and for families, I just didn't think it would work.
Yeah. So actually, you kind of skipped over phone as some people didn't. That's where consults have been for, historically. I think with people living with dementia and family members, phone consultations have been pretty good because I don't have to travel. But you jumped over that thing and went, well, wait a minute, why don't we just do it on Zoom? Because yeah, I can then see you, you can see me. You could run an AELC and pull up a slide. I mean, there's this benefit.
Yeah, and I can see people. I can see facial expressions. I can see who needs me to take it back a step. Not quite. If 2 of the 4, I can see we're not ready to move any further. We're just going to kind of stop there. Yeah. Now, I would do follow-up on the phone, quick questions or etc. But I've never done the whole thing just via the phone.
And so this is where, Carol, you as a certified community member get to really think about, what is the model I want to run? Because absolutely, if you're hitting the wall with people and they're like, I can't, yes, I can do a phone call, but your knowledge of like, I know how people take in data, it's visual and it's verbal, and I want to be able to see them. So this is where I'm going to go with it. But interestingly enough, you also had to, it sounds like, weed through the high anxiety, I would say, probably of, oh no, I've never done anything on Zoom. And that lasted for a little while when the pandemic started. But so what did you do anything specific, Carol, to help push families through that, or even professionals through, we hit the Zoom wall and it's like, oh no, I'm in panic mode?
So for professionals, it was kind of a no-brainer, because they were either being told to do it, or they were being given a free CE and free food. Of course, I got paid, but it was free for them. And Zoom was the only option. So sometimes it would be at just this one hospital at their lunch break. So I know people are on. Other times they would say, drive by and get a meal. So they'd have a real long paddle and they'd put the meal into the car, go home and log in at 6, and it would be like a 1-hour CE. So that at first I wasn't crazy about, because not that I'm vain, but I'm thinking, I really don't know if people are listening or not. And so then I got to learn Zoom a little bit more, and you can do the printout after of exactly who logged in, what time they logged out, and all that. But then also, because I want them to listen, I don't want them to just say, well, I'll get a free CE no matter what. You turn the evaluation in, and then I process and send you the CE certificate. So I'd always add a little something silly, 1 or 2 silly things in there, and add that to the evaluation. And it could be singing part of a song with I have her put away, but I made a Carol Baskin dummy to teach the, Carol Baskin. And that's exactly what I do. So I have I have just a styrofoam head with this big blonde wig and the floral thing on. I would just kind of have Carol Baskin doing something. Or I'd tell a real quick joke, and on the evaluation, it would ask about that. So they had to, even though they were home, they had to be watching unless they start calling other people. But at least it made me feel better, so knowing that for the groups.
Yeah, so you're absolutely dedicated enough, Carol, to say, yes, I want you to get CEs, but no, I don't want you to just check out and check the box in this thing. And that, again, it's a hard place to be in, because absolutely, you aren't sure sometimes on a Zoom, depending on how it's set up, what people are doing, if you can't see anyone. So it sounds like some learning for you as well to go, okay, here's something I'm going to try. Let's see if it works. And also to recognize that you have a say in this again. It's like, yeah, absolutely. I can, if I want to offer CEs, I'm going to make sure folks are actually engaged in this thing. And that's what PAC trainers do out there. That's different than, they gave me the money, so I'm, just here we go, and see you later. I mean, that's a different level of effort, it sounds like.
It's so important. These are the people who need it the most. So the majority of nurses would, EMTs, I have about 5 different boards that I submitted everything for approval. But my biggest attendees are social workers. And of course, every single day they see, I think they have one of the hardest jobs in the hospital, and they're so hardly talked about. I want them to get it. I want them to listen. I want them to pick up on 1 or 2 things. And I really also take the opportunity to promote, you have this opportunity to make a huge difference in this family's life. You can try just one thing, really make sure you drive home that supportive stance, and they'll take that with them. I just want them to learn something. Now, in a perfect world, I'd love to be called in to do an official training where that's really hands-on. And I do at some hospitals, and that has taken off, but it's usually not all 50 social workers at a hospital. It might be the unit department heads, but right, obviously we do this because we want to make a difference in the lives of the people living with dementia. We want all medical staff to change the way they view this. I don't remember if I mentioned this the first time I was on, but it does help a little that I'm a nurse and I had worked with several different people. So the DON, Director of Nursing for 4 different hospitals, I sent them a quick, easy Word doc that just had like 3 questions. And one of the questions was, if you could pick one area where you see, oh God, I have Mr. Jones today, and you just dread it, what is the condition or personality or reason why? So each one, I asked them to send to 25 people. So I didn't get quite 100 back, but 100% of them had dementia listed either first or second, 100% in the top 2. So obviously you are empowering them and giving them this great information, so they're going to walk in more confident and something people can try. So if I, am speaking with the people who make the decisions for education, which again, every department in a hospital has a director of education. So I got them on board. I'm going to give you a free 2-hour training. In return, if you think it was helpful, I want you to really promote bringing me in for training. And for every person I'm paid to train, I'll do a 15-minute CNA training free. So they jumped on that. I mean, that really helped. So you're not going to get rich doing this, but 2 hours hands-on versus just something virtual, or even just a CE you would be presenting in person is fantastic. So that is something that really had started to take off before, and I'd keep getting emails about as soon as you're coming back in. So I think anything that you add something free to, I loved the few opportunities I had to work with CNAs. I mean, I loved it.
So heads up, right, Matthew, for anyone who's out there watching, who's a certified trainer, or if you add something free, and like Carol said, listen, I know Carol's not in this to be, taking vacations in the Bahamas every couple of weeks or something, but like everyone else is out there, there's recognition of a need, and you've got to kind of get your foot in the door in a lot of places if they don't already know you, and if you're looking to go beyond the place that you are already employed at. So that's really cool, Carol. I heard you say something that really resonated with me. And Matthew and I do training together often now. We get like 2 hours with people. Sometimes we get like 4 hours with people. And Carol, you mentioned if you could drive home 1 or 2 things, when?
Absolutely.
Even though we get people for hours at a time, sometimes we realize, and I think Carol realizes too, you can't take everything away from this thing. You can't. But if there's 1, 2, 3, 4, I mean, a couple things are making a difference out there for people. And like Carol said, just supportive stance can be a big change for how we approach things. So really, that was a neat little nugget. You snuck it in there almost, Carol. You're sneaky, just like Matthew's sneaky too sometimes. Matthew, anything else? Was there something? Sorry, I unmuted right before you did. So go for it, man.
No worries. I was just pointing out that, and Carol, you did actually get a chance to mention about that, putting out that questionnaire. And I think we really pointed out to a lot of folks at that time, like, ooh, look what Carol did with this, and how this gave her this kind of a connection into those places, because once she brought that topic up, and once she was able to show those numbers to people, that really helped them to see, wow, the importance of, man, we need to do something more about training when it comes to our staff, when it comes to anybody in our environment. And you brought up I almost think we need to make up like an acronym for it or something, ways to get in. And right now what's coming to mind is that FFC. So free, food, and then CEs. I mean, if you can hit all 3 of those marks there when it comes to trying to connect with somebody you want to go do some training with, I think that's almost like a sure shoe-in. You're probably going to get in there somehow, some way, if you can offer those 3. But looking at that piece too, and how giving that as a way and start to actually do something there, changing that culture, mindset in that facility or in that neighborhood or in that home. Those are some ways, as for all of out there just starting, those are some ways that could potentially help you when you are trying to connect with a place and you're wanting to do some training. Because we'll get questions from folks. They'll be asking like, how, so, I do now that I'm certified, I want to get out there and train. Where should I start? How should I start? So Carol, again, giving us those awesome nuggets, sneaking those pieces in of, these are some great ways that you guys can get out there and get connected with places and start doing some trainings, because they really do help you to get in through the door when you hit those marks. So,
and a few key terms, excuse me for interrupting, that are great when people, so obviously hooking up with vendors who need you and that's how you get in. And then had to do a few of those free, and then I get paid. And sometimes just one vendor wanted to pay me. They wanted to be the only person giving that elevator pitch and having their logo on all my slides. And sometimes it would be four, because they're the ones providing the food. They're the ones providing, paying me. But whether it's submitting to the education department for the hospital, or when you're submitting to get a continuing education unit approved by a state department, here are words that they love. You need proof of need for this. So proof for need is a survey I sent out to 4 different hospitals. And so I do have that proof if they need it. And then the as evident by, AEB, as evident by. So the need for as evident by such and such, that it makes a difference as evident by, and you put a few of these statements you got on your course evaluations. So, right, it's going to help in 2 ways. That's going to help the department head to see this maybe is really good. Here are evaluations from my own nurses, my own case managers, talking about how it's helped them. And then the state departments, because really they want to approve CEs. They just want it to be something that they know is really needed, because sometimes it's the same thing again and again, something that's really needed. And how can you prove it is needed? So as evident by.
Yeah, and that is so true, especially looking at getting those things approved. And I know one of our team members, Teffy, who has spent a lot of time and a lot of blood, sweat, and tears getting things approved for CEs. And it's a very strenuous process. But what's nice about it is once you get through it, I think once you get things approved and connected, it's a little bit easier, especially if it's the same stuff each year. If it's the same, in some ways, the same information, getting it approved again, but there's a lot of work in the front, and not hesitating to reach out and talk to a live person and getting more information from them, and clarification can speed it up. And that's coming from personal experience. I stopped looking at websites and reading, and I just started talking to people back when I worked on getting things approved for CEs, because sometimes some of that language can be a little confusing when they're saying this is what they want, but then they deny you and tell you they want something else. So, and
yeah. Another thing that helped too, so I will say this only for the State Department of Nursing, because they're really the only ones I reached out to about it, but I said, and it's about an hour away from where I live. I said, I'd love, hey, if you see this is something worth approving, I would love to come up there and give a free 2-hour. It got approved. They jumped right on that. You want them to see the value. But so the people who were there in attendance are the ones too that now you'll get referrals. You'll get referrals because they're going to inspect a nursing home or go into a nursing home and see, y'all could really benefit from this. So it was just a shot in the dark. I thought maybe it would help it get approved, but it ended up being bigger than that. So again, as a nurse, I felt I had more connections with the State Department of Nursing. And in the past, I had actually proofed things that were sent in for them. So much of this is luck. I just happen to have done things in the past that help with connections. And it really is more so than me knowing how to market. It just happened to know people from the past, and it just really helped. But anyone out
It's like Carol might have got stuff. I'm going to say it's more than luck for Carol, by the way. I think it's a try, and it's a willingness to give it a try. Oh,
you guys are frozen, but now you're back. Okay.
So Carol, I was just saying, I think that's a little more than luck. I think it's being willing to give something a try, and you have no idea. I mean, this is not a proven thing that, yeah, I'm going to offer you guys this free workshop and then I get referrals, not even thinking that you're going to get referrals, but this is what I'm going to do. And you can see it for yourself. And then the idea is, oh yeah, that's cool, because now they see my workshop, they know I'm doing a good job, and hey, they're going to throw my name out to someone else when they are finding the need. So it seemed to work out really well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and not only that, but it sounds like, I mean, in just the setup, the way you had everything going, and then the sudden shifts and the changes that you had to make getting into COVID. But one thing that, Rebecca, because Rebecca actually got a chance to talk with you to set up for the interview tonight. In fact, she was going to be the one doing the interview with you. But she brought up this piece of how you got your name out there in a local concierge medical group, and also with some Jerry Psych docs. And so we're wondering if you could share with us about that and how it has really impacted your ability to serve more clients out there.
So the biggest thing for that worked for me is asking, who is your primary care doctor, your neurologist, and your Jerry Psych doctor, if you have these. And it's part of it anyway, because you want to help guide them. Well, your primary care has been doing this for 3 years. It is time. They are fabulous, but there are so many other medicines or cocktails of medicines out there that a neurologist or a Jerry Psych would really know better. So it is to help guide them through the process when that's time. That's as part of a consultation. So when you start hearing some of the same names, I ask people, make sure to let your doctor know you're working with me. And I would word it that because sometimes doctors really are interested in a team approach, and that's really hardly ever the case. But they do, so neurologists have loved that. They have loved getting input from another person so they can really understand, because we know it's usually the family is calling, we need more medicine, I can't do this anymore, this is crazy, they're doing this, they're doing that. So you start hearing the same names, and that's when I'll follow up. I'll drop by an office. I'll have a separate letter for each doctor who works there, just a brief card. I've heard so many wonderful things about you. We share some clients, obviously with HIP, I can't say the names, but any other clients you think I may be able to help, let me know. So one concierge group in particular sends a lot. And it's almost, and that's why I'm so glad we're getting back. They need to come to workshops. They don't need a private consultation. A private consultation is also expensive. Now, here's what's a little bit funny though. I'm like, all 4 doctors are sending me these people. Hey, I'm talking to the office manager. Why don't y'all sponsor an event? All you need to do is really provide the space. But on all the marketing material and flyers, it will promote that. And she instantly says, we do not want to be known as a place to come for people with dementia. I do get it. I don't agree, but I get it because there's so little they feel they can do. But when they see this union, getting a union with a certified, PAC certified community member is what is the missing piece. So that worked out great for them. Then again, some of this is luck. There's a really big Jerry Psych group in New Orleans, and one of the psychiatrists is the head of the psych mental health unit at the hospital. I've known him since we were kids. So even though in our adult life I hadn't seen him in forever, the same thing, I made sure a few people first let him know, and then I called and, left a message, and he called me up driving home on the way home from work. And we had a great conversation and started getting consultations or referrals. Then he did bring me in to do a training because he realized everyone on the mental health unit does not have dementia, but everyone on the mental health unit should be approached the exact same way. This works. This is beautiful. This, and of course, so that was fabulous. So he couldn't pay me to bring me in to do that. So I had 4 vendors. And again, they hoped therefore the nurses, the social workers, the doctors at this big group would refer to them. That was such a great experience because there were probably in everything I've ever done, that's where I had the most aha moments. So this particular Jerry Psych doctor said, I tell my clients, if they really want to keep working with me, I strongly suggest you contact Carol Bailey and go through these workshops. He said he would love to be able to say, the only way I'll keep you. And again, we know it's not me, this is what they need. You know, he says some families will call him 3 times a week. There's no more I can do for you. Everything you're telling me, I've had 100 patients who do all of that. It's awful. I'm so sorry. They have empathy. Physicians heal people and they can't heal dementia. So, you know, that's the other thing, just making sure any families who do really see the value in what you do, tell their doctors.
So it sounds like you're almost providing support. I typically think, right, traditionally think, okay, certified individuals, you go out and you support families and you're supporting professionals, you're supporting people, but you're actually you're kind of supporting medical professionals who have people coming to them for a diagnosis, but are recognizing that rest of that stuff, that's actually Carol's realm. And I can't do that. But man, it would be great if you went to see her for some of that, because that's the place where you come in and you have a whole wealth of, I can consult with you, I could provide some training, but actually bringing folks together from a Jerry Psych unit who are thinking, oh, I'm just going to be here for this training and it's only for dementia, and then coming out of it saying, well, this is kind of for lots of people, which is the thing we often hear after a PAC training. It's like, yeah, I could use this with just about anyone coming into my place. So that's an interesting one, Carol, and I've not heard another community member say that, of like, you're supporting lots of people who are professionals and family members. And I mean, that's a different place to be in. And I do think now that one, you growing up with that guy, Carol, that is totally a chance thing. That's, you know, I'm 100%
it fell in my lap. So truly it did. I'm not saying that to maybe get a compliment. It fell in my lap. You know, if I was someone he had never heard of, that's what they have office managers for. And the office manager isn't aware of clients walking in and maybe saying, hey, we cut the Seroquel down to just 25 at night and he's sleeping great. If they don't also say, we've been changing so much of what we do because of this dementia education specialist, there's that missed opportunity. But if they do keep saying it, that's pretty soon when you have to go knock on the door.
Yeah.
Right.
So looking at when you're doing your trainings or you're doing your consultations, encouraging folks, when you go see your doctor, just let them know that you're working with me, that you're doing some things with me. And that being that connection piece that can then get you to that next part of, ooh, what do you think about us working together? What do you think about when you're having these situations that, you know, let them know I'm available to help them with X, Y, or Z, or to go through this. Because that's something I think a lot of us have really noticed, and you brought up out there, is that sometimes in situations, it's you see the doctor, you get the diagnosis, or you just get some info, and then that's it. That's as far as it goes. So needing that connection and bringing that team together, and how that's one way to do it is by letting your folks know that you're working with. Hey, let your doctor know that we're working together and what we're doing, and using that as that jumping off point.
Right. And you sign HIPAA releases for physicians who want to talk on a regular basis. And that's, for me, the concierge physicians are more the ones who will do that. And you will get that phone call saying, when's the last time you worked with them? Or have you seen this? I'm not sure how to handle this. I think the medication they're on is correct. I think maybe this is just a disease, and the family knows I'm going to share my input from my point of view. But those are the things that make it great, and where I wish there was a way for them to let government know that, because and I'm not going to go too far down this road because it's very involved, but in Louisiana, a bill got passed that kind of is three-part. So physicians need to give some type of evaluation, and they're getting reimbursed for just this office visit. But on top of that, they're going to get reimbursed for this screening. They're going to get reimbursed for interpreting the screening. The third part they can't do. The third part is now family education on dementia. But if you look at it's worded poorly, they're wanting you to explain what all the different types of living wills are. What's the difference between Medicare, Medicaid? What's the difference between, like, how should we get our affairs in order? So presenting it that we can give that in a packet, but look at everything else they can get. So it's a little tricky. So you have to become a approved vendor. And again, it's something I'm still working on and will eventually get there. But for now, one thing is, so if you have a good relationship with a doctor, in Louisiana that got passed. So everyone should look at their own state, like what are the Medicare codes used for dementia, and see if there's something like this. So this is the care management part. They can source that out. So they'll get paid and then pay me.
Because they're providing that referral or that service potentially by referring folks to you, or that connection that you have with them when it comes to doing that education piece. Even though they're working with this doctor, they can say, oh, and I'm doing this part, or we have this part that's a part of what we're doing, and that gives them that reimbursement. And once again, that kind of goes with that piece of ways to get in with somebody, right? Maybe that's another letter that we need to add to that, is find a way to help them get reimbursed for something.
Because here's the beautiful part of it, okay? Although it's not really for us, here's the beautiful part of that. You have to do all three or none. So most doctors are doing none. They don't have the staff to send a person to the home or bring them into another room and do this. That's the beautiful part. So, oh, I can make money more so than what I'm already doing for what I'm already doing. And it's educating them on that these codes exist. But anyway, right, if it's here, I'm sure it's in other states too. It may be worded differently, but
yeah.
So that's a great big thing that we want to see. We all want that across the whole country, correct, everyone?
Yeah, definitely looking at that part of, for all you folks out there, especially our certified folks, looking at your state, local governments, knowing what those codes are and using that as a part of maybe your pitch or your connection when you are reaching out to a doctor or somebody who could potentially get reimbursed for some of what you're doing. And that, like Carol was saying, then the doctor gets reimbursed for that and then pays some of that money to her for providing that service. So what a great way to create that connection. But most importantly, it's getting Carol and what she's doing, or it could get you into more places, supporting more people in realms that can be really tough to get into. So this is so awesome. Carol, it is a pleasure to have you on with us again and catching up. And I'm pretty sure we'll have to bring you back on later on down the road and catch up with you again and see what's going on, because so many wonderful ways that you've engaged audiences out there and folks when you've done your trainings, and creative ways to get connected with places so you can get in there and provide your services, your education and training or consultation. So thank you so much for everything you're doing out there and all of the awesome stuff that you brought to us tonight for our audience to take. So everybody thinking about going back to that, maybe one or two things you might take away from what Carol was saying tonight and start trying that piece out there and getting yourself into more areas that maybe you haven't gotten into yet. To help support folks, especially supporting those who are caring for or living with dementia. So thank you so much, Carol.
Thank you.
And talking about how Carol has done such an amazing job with engaging people, our last part of what we're going to talk about tonight is this really cool thing that PAC offers. And it's like an every other Monday schedule. Of course, this week it's a little thrown off because of the holiday, but we brought on tonight, and we did talk about the other half of this. So it's on Mondays. And one of those Mondays is the Brain Connection Cafe. But the other Monday is something else. And so we have Cheryl on tonight. Welcome to SUP, Cheryl.
Thank you, Matthew.
You're welcome. So poor Cheryl, bless her heart, had to help me a couple times because my brain was so stuck on Brain Connection Cafe, Brain Connection Cafe, Brain Connection Cafe. And so Cheryl had to help me with the name of this other piece of it, which is that.
Best of luck.
Yeah, best of luck.
So it's Bingo with Creativity Cafe.
Big bingo with Creativity
But
Cafe.
Matthew, it's really good that you've got the Brain Connection Cafe, in your mind, because that's where my Bingo with Creativity Cafe started. Tipa every other Monday does this Brain Connection Cafe, and I thought, I'm going to go on there and I'm going to support Tipa and the team. Well, honestly, on there, everyone was having so much fun. The people that were attending had so much fun, but I was actually exercising my brain, which totally needed it, I felt. So then I'm thinking, this is really cool. I would get off and I would feel better with my day, and I would see people smiling. I thought, I wonder what we could do on the opposite Monday. And that is how I came about going, I think I have an idea. With my 23 years in long-term care as PSW, personal support worker, CNA in the US, because I'm in Ontario, Canada. But you would know, you do not disrupt. You do not ask somebody if they would like a bath on bingo time. You do not don't change bingo because, oh boy, do we ever have to understand why they're in the mood they're in if bingo time got changed or canceled, or even what floor it's on. Don't change things up with bingo. So that, and then I'm thinking maybe 9 years ago, I worked part-time in a retirement home as the activity director. And in retirement, you can be a PSW and still do the activity stuff. So I thought, okay, I only have the really, really, really short time of hours, but I want to give so much. So what can I do? How can I be creative and still give so much when I'm not there that many hours? And what's important to people? Bingo. So I came up with a bingo, a TV bingo. And because my dad he played bingo on TV, and I was there the one time, and I was like, hey, interesting. I could do a TV bingo. So I did a Bristol board, and I put a TV in the middle of it, and I put down the one side 1 to 75 numbers, as they would in bingo. And then I cut out 1 to 75, and I put it in a little sandwich bag at that time. And then I got a marker, and I had the marker ready, and I printed off some really large print bingo cards, printed off a whole whack. So then I thought, okay, now I've got this all ready. Oh, and I put clear MAC tack over top of it, so then I could keep changing it up every time there was winners. But I reached out to some residents that I thought may want to help me. So I asked them, the one resident, will you do me a favor? Will you put 2 numbers? If I give you this little sandwich bag and a black marker and some tape, will you put 2 numbers up on my TV outside the elevator every day? She's like, you're going to give me all the supplies. So I did. And she did it. And then I asked someone else, will you do me a favor? I have all these bingo cards printed off, and here's a list of the people that have said that they'll want to play. Would you every month rotate and give them new cards? And they did. So bingo was so great. I've seen people with that bingo, Matthew, come out of their rooms, men that would never participate in a bingo room, believe it, and women would go up to the elevator, check their numbers, put the cross on it. It may have taken a month for that game to be over. Oh, and the prize, I sold Avon. And all the profits went to the residents' bingo prizes. So, hey, who doesn't need deodorant when you're living in retirement, or lotions or lip balm? So that was the importance. I know how bingo is.
Okay, so hang on though, Cheryl, because you described your whole activity, and I think I counted less than 10 things. And I mean, I don't know how much more it cost than $10 probably to get that stuff. So it's really low cost what you did. That was in person way back, or not that far ago, but
Way back.
then the way back, was it actually way back, Cheryl? Yeah. But the interesting piece, Cheryl, for our engagement leaders is you were not the person in charge of everything after that. That was not, you weren't the person pulling the numbers. You weren't the person, you actually had other folks who live there do that.
Yes.
So this way they get some more out of this too, because I mean, this bingo is for you to just get started, not necessarily to take over and run. That was them doing it. I mean, you handed the baton off.
Yeah. Yeah, it was so wonderful and great to see. And Alejandro, we would even have residents that would play for someone else. He, I'll keep his card, and then that person's name got on the top of that card, and he'd play 5 cards just for other people to have a chance to win. So yeah, so that was really cool. So then I thought about it and I thought, okay, bingo. I can do that again. So I reached out to Amanda and Tipa and I said, I have an idea for every other Monday, if it's okay. Do you mind if I volunteer my time and not put it through my pack hours and do a bingo every other Monday in between at the same time as Tipa would do hers? And I met up with Tipa and we talked it through, and she says, Cheryl, this would be fantastic. One thing. I said, okay, you need to exercise their brain as well. We can't just have bingo dabbing happening. Oh, well, that's cool. I can do that, Tipa. I can do that. So
Cheryl, this is you now stepping in, because we had 2 out of the 4, I don't know, some months have 5 weeks, right? But 2 out of 4 weeks, PAC didn't have anything on those Mondays. So it's not our leadership, quote unquote, saying, hey, we want to do more. That's Cheryl saying we want to do more. And Cheryl's already got mentor role and helping everyone get onto certs and consult. I mean, you've got like 4 or 5 different hats, and Cheryl threw another one on and said, hey, let's help fill up more time for people with something that's meaningful and beneficial.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Cheryl.
I was going to say, in saying that was another one is my consultations, my Care Partners Support Series. These people were reaching out, like with COVID, they were home, and what are we going to do? And I seen the stress, and I seen, join please, So in Ontario, Canada, we were locked down and we were at stay at home.
So, I mean, this really was born in that COVID time where people were locked down stateside, everywhere else in the UK. So, Cheryl, how does this work? Because I know how it works because I've attended. I mean, I've done bingo with creativity multiple times, and I do generally feel better after. I feel even better if I win, which has only happened once. But I guess other people need to win too. So how do you run this thing, Cheryl? How do you make it work virtually? Because bingo is an in-person thing for the majority of the world.
Yeah, so great question, Alejandro. And the coolest thing is people from all over the world join us. all over the world. Like that is even the cooler thing. So I will share screen, and maybe that will, I'll just show you a little sample of last month's. So this is a PowerPoint from last, started that. Is that okay? You can see that, Alejandro? Okay,
We got
good.
it.
So thank you for joining us today. My goal today is to provide you with socialization, fun, and brain exercise. Oh, you thought we were going to play the traditional bingo? Well, maybe. Not today, though. But I am looking into that. So what I ask you to do is have a deck of cards, 25 laying across the top and 25 down to start out with. So they're all turned face up. As I call a card, which would be a card like this, can you see that? Or is that a little too small for you, Alejandro?
I was wondering how you would get it that big, actually, Cheryl. That's impressive.
So these cards actually, I got for a joke because me and my husband had to get glasses at the same time. So these were like, okay, hon, do you think we could play cards with these now? So I had these for that, but it was a joke when I did buy them. So they've come in very handy. So turn your card over as I turn up a card, and we will know what we're playing for from the beginning. Or when you register, these cards here were my husband's aunt's cards. And as you can see, they're quite brown and older. And we would play this game at the trailer when we would go visit her. And she gave me some cards to set up when I was doing the activity stuff. So I thought, well, hey, we could put these on, and lovely Teffy helped me put this on. So when you register, you can pick one of 9 cards and print it off if you'd rather do this. To mark them, if you want to just print off a couple, you can use a marker. But if you don't want to, you only have the one, and we do play a few games in between, get creative. Use buttons, whatever you want to use. A dab, well, you wouldn't want to use a dabber if you want to use it again, but just bingo chips even. So then I start out with a little bit of music. I won't play this, but we have a theme that goes. I have a theme that goes with the month that we're playing bingo. So June was summer. So happy birthday to everyone born in June. So the birthday in June, it's your choice for the first game. But usually in the past, I've said, okay, your first choice. So it would either be 4 corners, it'd be an X, or whatever the person wanted to play. But in June, I thought, oh, I got to do something different. So let's do the letters of the word summer. So the person's birthday in June got to choose first. So this is the S. Would you like to play for S, U, M, E, or R first?
Cheryl, I'm glad you have a visual of this, because it took me a very long time looking at that picture before I figured out that that was an S. So nice work to support my non-visual learning style here. Very cool.
Yeah, thanks, Alejandro. And I did have my screen down last week so that people could see the letter R. I had it printed off, well, actually right here in front of me. So the letter R, I had that down, as well as they could see the card I turned over, so that they always had a visual of what we were playing for in front of them. So so then after S was called, and 1 was winner's choice. And they would pick a letter from the word summer. And then again, choice.
So Cheryl, I'm going to show some folks off the PowerPoint slide here what it looks, because again, I've joined a few times, you know, and like I'm going to tell you which ones not to print out, because I've done a bunch of these, and I'm going to show you the ones not to pick, because you know.
He's already marking them.
I got 42 and 45 here. So these are mine, and I do reuse them because I am kind of paper conscious and ink conscious, right? And that took me a while to figure out, and I kind of folded them up. And then I don't know what these are for, but they were in our closet. So we use these as kind of little place markers, and yeah, it's worked out really well. So.
Hey, Alejandro, you're saying we? Who's we?
Sorry, yes, I thank you. You don't normally talk about yourself with we, Cheryl. So I brought Liliana, my 3-year-old daughter, to bingo with creativity a few times, and she's really enjoyed it. And then, you know, it's also a chance for her to work on like which colors do you want to put on, or which shapes, or which. So it's a good workout for her brain, and it's a good workout for mine to try to help her hear and listen to whoever's calling. And yeah, and sometimes, you know, we got to improvise and do some doodling in between as well, in between the games. So
That's just it, Alejandro. I'm glad you said that about Liliana, because I do get requests on who's this for? Who is this for? So this is for the person living with dementia. This is for their care partner, if they want to join in. This is for anyone with a brain that would just like to join in, have some fun. The prize is a big smile. The prize is just having fun. That's what I got to say. I did try trophies, but then I'd forget to send, and then some got them, some didn't. So that didn't happen anymore. But the prize is just coming and having fun. So anyone that has a brain that wants to get together with us every other Monday.
Now, here's the other thing, Cheryl, you didn't know you were doing is you're hitting one of Carol's free 3 things. It's that free one. It is free. It's free to sign up. It's free to join. I mean, they're pretty close to free, you know, or if you got cards already around, then that's the free version of it. Yeah, those were good. We can't give you food. I don't think you're sending anyone food, are you, Cheryl? Did you ramp it up in the last couple of weeks or anything? No food or CEs, but it's free. So, you know, come on up.
But can I ask Matthew to please put it in the chat, the link for the next registration, which is Monday, the 17th of July. And I did pass by a slide there, Alejandro. So we also will do some little trivia related to the month that we are in. And I also want to share that we have awesome PAG full-time staff that come and assist me. Carrie, she does the Zoom. She puts in the chat every number, every card that I call, she puts in chat. Diane covered for her last week and said, Carrie's got a really hard job. So we have other PAC mentors, Diane and Catherine and Rachel, that join in and they'll support, because if we have a lot of people, we'll do the trivia and stuff in a breakout room. So,
and I just like to go. I'm not doing any work there. I'm just having fun when I show up. So
yeah, and we love it. And Liliana brings a lot of smiles, Alejandro.
Good.
That's so awesome. So what a great way to spend a Monday afternoon just working with folks and doing something fun. And again, working your brain. I mean, that's the biggest thing, is finding different ways to challenge ourselves. That's not what we are used to, not in the way that maybe we did before in the past, but maybe we don't anymore. And it's just a great way to do that brings people together too, especially with this whole thing that we all had to go through, and still, you know, going through this whole COVID thing, creating that social environment that's fun. And Cheryl, I just want to say thank you so much. It's such an inspiration coming up with that idea, bringing it forth, and saying, you know, to Teepa and Amanda and them, like, hey, this is really cool thing I'd like to try and do. And it's really taken off. I hear people all the time saying what a blast they have when they go to it. So thank you so much for bringing that to everybody and giving them the opportunities to do something really cool like that.
And you're very welcome, Matthew. And thank you for having me on here to share this so that we can get people sign up. Come on, have some fun. And sometimes Teepa will be there and sometimes not. But I am going to share that when she's there, she's not loving bingo, but she's there to support.
Yeah, in fact, I remember you saying something. Sometimes she kind of moans and groans that she didn't get a number or something like that.
She likes when she wins, but she'll be like, oh, God.
Yeah,
Oh, she's calling my
sounds like
number again.
Sounds like Alejandro's kind of in that boat a little bit too. He says, which I've only won once. I mean, he pointed that out. He made it, he made sure he pointed it out.
I even bring my cute kid and I don't win. So, I don't know what else I can do here.
No kidding. Maybe bring that other cute kid of yours and have them both. I mean, that double the cuteness. You can't go wrong there.
Yeah, and we have family members that bring their loved one living with dementia, and they play side by side, as well as Alejandro with his daughter and Catherine with her little niece. And so, yeah.
For anybody, like you said, for all brains, anybody, any point. Yeah, that's awesome.
I'm not shy when they yell at me to slow down. I encourage them to tell me if I'm going too slow, going too fast, they need something else. And I'm pretty easy to get along with behind this card because I kind of know.
Yeah, and you don't have to worry. I think probably one of the nice things about not being in person with that is, man, I think I recall in some places I had been, the poor bingo caller sometimes didn't always get the most positive language from their audience because somebody won and they were so close and they thought maybe the bingo caller might have been in cahoots with the person who was winning because it might have been their third time of winning too. So yeah, you got that protection of that Zoom distance.
I don't feel a thing. Well, I can feel hurt once. I played a sad song once and I felt really bad. So now I really, really, really only play happy, fun songs just because that's the way I am, art first person. So
Very cool.
thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, thank you guys for being here. And, we like to wrap up our broadcast with everybody kind of sharing out one thing they kind of took away from the night and what everybody was saying. But I think I'm going to change it just a little bit since I'm the only one here from the original cast here. I'm going to go rogue for a minute because normally what we do in the very beginning is we start off with these in the moment support cards. And I thought it might be kind of cool to end the night by pulling one, saying what it is, and then just getting from everybody a thought or something that maybe is dear to them or comes to mind after I read it. Just have them share out how they took that card or what they're thinking about once they heard that. So the card I picked, or at random, I didn't hand pick it, is an encouragement one, and it's you have permission to rest. So for me, that just brings to mind that idea of sometimes we get going so much and we're looking at so many different things and we forget to pay attention to our own needs and that importance of giving ourselves that permission or encouraging ourselves to take a pause and rest a minute. So that would be kind of what comes to mind for me. So I'm curious, Carol, what does that say to you, or what comes to mind when you hear that?
Right, that you kind of hit it. So there's so many things I'm working on in all different directions, and you'll think of other things that maybe would help get that pushed through faster, and that just let it go for a little while. And then to me also rest some of it, focus more on some of it. So to me, that's immediately what I thought of.
I'd say for me, it's resting on the to-do list, and it doesn't all have to be done by the end of the day. And the things that are on there will be there tomorrow for me. So, a few things on my list at the end doesn't mean that I have to spend another 3 to 4 hours on it today. I can wait till tomorrow with it. So get some rest.
Yeah, and for me, it brings out what I'm talking about for those care partners, the care partners that are caring for their loved ones. You take that time for yourself and bring your loved one and hey, let's have some fun. And you'll feel rested when you're done.
Very cool. Well, thank you guys so much for sharing those thoughts and feelings with us tonight, and for being here. And again, going out to Carrie on vacation, and Rebecca, we're thinking of you, and really enjoyed having you guys on, watching us tonight. Thank you so much. Don't forget to subscribe to those social media channels that Tifa Snow has. Keep up to date with everything that we have going on in the Positive Approach to Care. Especially, a lot of the cool stuff you heard tonight. There's a lot of free stuff that we offer and put out there as well. So that's a great way to stay connected to that. You guys all take care, and we will see you next Tuesday for our next guest. And Carrie will be back, and Rebecca might be back. She might not. We'll see, but Carrie for sure will be back. Yes, yeah, and you should see me, hopefully. You all take care.